Hello, it's Winnie and Juan. Thank you so much for joining me. My mission is to empower you to live a life of purpose and prosperity. How are you doing? I know it's late right now, but you may be watching in this at a later time. So, good morning, good afternoon, good evening. So, this live is about five reasons why I chose the insurance industry versus the real estate industry. So, I'm just gonna share with you my quick reason, my five reason why I did so. So I'm gonna go straight to the point. So the number one reason why I chose the insurance industry versus the real estate industry is because of the time and the cost factor to get into the industry. So, for example, the real estate industry, on average, it could take maybe 3 to 6 months to go to a class to get your license. But then with the insurance industry, it can be as quick as 2 weeks if you really study, or maybe a month the most if you study and then to take the test. Okay, so the time factor as well as the cost. So you can get in the insurance industry way faster versus the real estate industry because of the length of time it takes for the classroom. Like I said, could be 3 to 6 months depending on the program. But on top of that is the cost. So with real estate industry, I don't know, maybe on average, based on what research I've done, it could be up on the 1,200. So depending on the school, it can be higher, but in around $1,200 to get a real estate license, to go to the school to get your real estate license. Insurance industry, top, it could be maybe $300 with your classroom and the state license to get into the insurance industry. So the time it takes to get into the industry and the amount of money it costs, the insurance industry went with no problems. Okay, so there's no competition there. So the number two reason is obviously when you are in the business, obviously you need clients, and then you are dealing with decision makers. So with that said, the decision makers that you are dealing with is the people who is gonna say yes or no to you when you wanna do business with them. So the real estate industry, there are too many decision makers. Obviously, when you have your client, you're dealing with your client. However, there are a lot of other decision makers that can influence whether your client can go forward with the transaction or not. So, for example, if you are working with a buyer, I remember, for example, when I was my husband and I, we were buying our condo. So we had a gentleman we were working with. Okay, so we were his decision maker. However, since we're a couple, then it's two of us. So in that sense, he's dealing with two decision makers. On top of that, we have to get a mortgage. Okay, so now the bank is a decision maker whether they're gonna approve us or not. And then so when we are looking for the properties, so you also have the seller who's also a decision maker. So the seller can go back. I mean, literally, the seller was going back and forth with us when it comes to how much we were willing to pay for the condo versus what he was willing to sell it for. So there are various decision maker involved. Okay, so with that said, now it's a way longer process because you are dealing with so many decision makers and so many factors. So the insurance industry, you are dealing with maybe top two decision makers in a couple situations. So for example, for like I said, I'll use myself as an example. With our insurance policy, it was basically my husband and I, we were decision makers. So if it's a single person, you're dealing with only one person. So there's not going to be like any surprises down the road for anything to basically fall because you're dealing with this one person who can make the decision in regard to whether they want to go forward with getting a policy from you or not. Okay, so that makes your job way easier. All right. So number three, the average length of time it takes to close a transaction. I mean, real estate industry, with the average length of time it takes to basically start with one client and from beginning to end until you get paid, average I would say maybe 5 to 7 months. Since I was using my husband and I as an example, so I remember with us we started the process maybe November, I think, of the previous year. We did not close till June. Okay, so that's around 7 months. So this gentleman was working with us from the approving stage of getting approved for the mortgage to the closing around 7 months. Okay, don't nobody got time to wait 7 months to get paid on a transaction. I know I don't. So with that said, there's a lot that goes to it. Okay, so going to, I mean, I know some agent doesn't even work with the individual until they are basically approved. Okay, so that cut off the, I guess, the approving process. But then some agent they actually work with you, maybe refer you to some other company who can help you get approved. So our gentleman, he did help us with that, and then so that's why it take. We started with him a longer amount of time, but either way, it takes a long time to basically go to the approving stage, looking at the various condos and we did look at various different properties. And then so with the closing, going back and forth with the bank, sending documents, reviewing documents. It's a long process. So like I said, it can take around 5 to 7 months from, and then I've heard of situation where some people take a year. Um, but then here's also what happened, because you can take 5 7 months 1 year to deal with a client, to help this client try to buy a property, and then because you are different decision makers, then it falls. Okay, so but now you it's basically all this work is for nothing. Okay, so insurance industry, it shouldn't take more then 2 3 weeks a month top to basically go from applying for a policy for the client to get approved. So with COVID-19 now, some company is even like straightforward approving people. I mean, obviously they're gonna ask you some health questions, okay? So based on your answer on the health questions, they can approve your policy without any medical tests right now, because obviously people are not going to people's home. Okay, so that's the main reason. And then so in that case, based on the answers on your medical questions, then they can approve you based on a standard health. All right, so based on a standard health they will approve you. But if you feel that you have way better health than standard, maybe preferred health, then after everything is done with all the COVID-19 going on right now, then you can request a medical request a medical test for you to be able to show that you have preferred health, and therefore take the advantage of the lower cost of a preferred health policy. All right, so that was number three, the average length of time. And I didn't even add that now that I'm thinking about it. So I can combine the average length of time with maybe the ease of doing business. All right. So right now, the insurance industry is booming, obviously, because of everything that's going on right now. People are really, I guess, paying more attention now. They're seeing the purpose or the importance of insurance. So we are able to do business virtually. Okay, so like I mentioned, just a few questions. You can get approved based on a standard health. And then later on, if you want to get maybe a better rate. Maybe we can do a medical test and then you can take advantage of the preferred rate. Okay, so we can just do Zoom conference call with our clients. Everything we can be applied online. But then with the real estate industry, what's going on right now? Who wants anybody to come into the home? Okay, so sellers are not looking for people to come into the home right now, and nobody is going around trying to look for properties to buy right now. So obviously, with situation like this, the ease of doing business virtually is definitely an advantage for insurance agent. So with that said, let's go to number 4 that I have planned is compensation. Okay. So with a real estate agent, if you're not maybe like selling house at $1 million, um, you cannot compete with the compensation of an insurance agent. Okay. So with that said, like with the insurance industry, we get paid based on policies issued, and it's way faster compensation, and then it's really a good compensation. If you want to maybe discuss that, we can discuss that privately. It is a good compensation, and you can basically help a lot of people in the same household. It's not a one transaction, one and done transaction. Okay, so in a family you could help maybe 4 or 5 people, and then basically make the commission that a real estate agent will make in a one transaction. Okay, so it's a faster process. You are able to help way more people on a monthly basis with an insurance industry versus the real estate industry. Like I explained, your time spent with one client is so much, and now that you cannot even expand yourself, okay, or extend yourself to a lot of people, versus the insurance industry, because it's you can do it virtually, because it's a fast process, you can help multiple clients, and therefore increase your compensation at a higher level. So, since we are on compensation, it goes to number 5, residual income and referral income. Okay, so residual income is basically when you have a client. Okay, obviously when they get the policy the first time, you get a large portion of your commission, but then typically, a policy can vary from 10 years to 30 years. That also means that every time this person continues to pay the policy on a yearly basis, insurance agent gets paid. Okay, so that's called residual income. You do the work one time and then you get paid over and over and over again for the same work that you did maybe 10, 15, 20, 30 years ago. Who does not want that? I mean, it's basically with the real estate industry, you do the policy, I'm sorry, you do the contract once, you close once, you get your check there, that's it. Okay? Obviously, if the person like really like you, and maybe 10 years from now or 20 years from now they decide to sell the house and buy something else, maybe they'll use you, but then what's to say that they're going to continue to go with you, because they have options. Okay, and then again, yeah, people maybe are staying in the home on average 10, 15, 20 years if they're not refinancing the mortgage. So it does not like a guarantee that this person will use you, or that this person will end up selling the house and need to buy a new one. Versus the insurance industry, it's basically, okay, this person gonna continue to pay for the policies, and then they're gonna continue, and you are going to continue to get paid from the residual income. So, and on top of that, referrals. So when you're dealing with a family, the situation can change. Okay, so maybe now they've added an addition to the family. Now they need more insurance, not only for themselves. They can have a need to increase the amount of coverage that they have, or they may have a new family member and they may need insurance on that individual as well. So therefore, there's always uh, there's always potential to get paid from the same family over and over again as the family changes. Okay. So with that said as well, they can refer people to you. It's way easier for a person to refer to you, and it's way easier to close on that referral because it's not like a huge transaction that involves many decision makers. Okay, so if somebody, you help a family and they feel like you really did a good job, and maybe they have a cousin or a sister or somebody that you can help, they refer you, and then you help that individual, in less than a month you get paid, and that continue over and over again. Versus the real estate industry, I know for a fact that my agent will help me. I refer them some people. But just because I refer some people to him, that doesn't mean he closed on those. Okay. I know for a fact I refer one individual to him, and he work with that individual maybe for a few months. That didn't go anywhere. Okay. And so it's a longer process. And that may not be because that person was wasting his time. It's because there's too many decision makers involved, and therefore he was not able to close on that deal. So with that said, I hope this live was beneficial to you, so you can see the ups and the difference between an insurance agent, how they get paid versus a real estate agent, and the benefit of being an insurance agent, especially now in this time of ages. So my name is Winnie Antoine, and just to recap, my mission is to empower you to live your life of purpose and prosperity. Thank you so much for watching. And if this live was beneficial to you or value to you, I encourage you to share it, like, and comment. So until next time, stay safe and be well. Have a good night.